tighter than that, you're squeezing the poo-poo out of it. If you hold the club tighter than that, you're squeezing the poo-poo out of the golf club. And I'm serious, both hands. No tighter than that.
Oh my God, you're kidding. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will explain how.
That's his
and
favorite
why.
part of the course.
I will explain how and why that works. You play the game of golf seriously in your subconscious. You don't play the game consciously. You play it subconsciously. Now, when you're setting up and lining up your shot and deciding what club you're going to hit, that's in the conscious mind. But when you start your golf swing, you want to be in the subconscious mind, and that's where you should be. In other words, you've always heard you got to drop your computer, turn it off, don't let your brain be thinking during the swing. That's where the body kicks in, and that's where this tension kicks in, okay? You got to hold the club gently, because if you hold the club too tightly, the first thing that happens is the club goes back too fast, okay? There are a few pros, successful players that have a quicker takeaway than others, you know. But for the most part, most club head speeds, you think of kind of like a old Volkswagen and a Corvette, you know, old Volkswagen, Corvette, okay? But the only way that can happen is through proper tension. All right, enough said on the tension. Now, in the gripping of a golf club, this club head is nothing but an extension of the position of your hands on it, okay? We always want that club face to be square and impact. We don't want it to be open or closed in impact, unless you're intentionally trying to hit a big hook or a big cut. Then you could close the toe a little bit to help hook the ball, or maybe open it a little bit. But then your swing plane, we'll get into all that, comes into effect. But basically, we're trying to keep that club perfectly perpendicular line to your target line. That's what we want. So if our grip is correct, chances of you hitting it where you want it to go is going to be pretty good. You know, unless your path is out of whack, and we'll get into that in a minute. But there are only two things that directly affect where a ball goes. Position of the club at impact is number one, and the swing plane, the position your arms and club travel through your rotation. That's the only two things that directly affect where a golf ball goes. That's how simple this game is. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. So we're back to the grip. You have the conventional 10-finger grip, okay, which I don't profess any of you to use. For little children, we sometimes use it. For kids when they're coming up, you know, because their hands are so small, and for ladies sometimes, and for seniors even, as we get a lot older than I am. I'm not there yet. But in all honesty, I cannot even play the game anymore. I've got such arthritis in my neck and stuff, I can't even play. I haven't swung a club in 2 years to actually play around the golf. And it's tough, but hey, life is. I'm still alive and I'm kicking out here having a great time at the campsite. But I just can't play anymore because I hurt too much. But anyway, that's the way it is. All right, so as far as grip, I mean, you have what we call the overlap, the Varden grip, created by Mr. Varden, where the one little finger just rests in between those index and the second finger on your left hand. Or then you have what they call the interlock, which Jack Nicklaus pretty much created the interlock. He said it was for tiny hands. Well, I've got the smallest hands I've ever seen of any human being, but I never could adapt to the interlock. I tried it, you know, years ago, but so I've used the conventional overlap all my life. You want to think of your fingers are completely separated from the palms of your hands. In other words, you never want to hold the golf club way up in your palms. You don't want to hold it in your palms. You want to actually rest it in your fingers. See how that hand just cups naturally right where your fingers cup? That's where you want the shaft. It'll be touching, you know, the inside of your palm and that second joint of your fingers. That's where you pretty much always want the club to be positioned. So it feels like your fingers are completely separated from your palm. Feel like they're two entities. Notice that when you do that, your hand line is real nice and straight along with your wrist line. Okay, because this is a game of lines and angles, in all honesty. So we try to get that club positioned in the fingers, slightly coming up to your heel pad on your left hand. Notice that I could almost put a cigar in there. Okay, you should always have a gap with your left hand right in that area right there. They shouldn't be wrapped around like that. You see the difference of that versus that? Now I could put a pencil up in there or a pen, you know. That's kind of a way to check it because you don't want that tension in there. Now this left thumb will be pointing straight down the shaft, right down to the club head in a nice straight line. Notice the fat heel pad is on top of that club. I personally don't hold them at the end. I like to have about a quarter to a half inch choke down because the diameter of the tip of that grip is so big. You know, it's a little.
And your hands are so small.
And my hands are tiny. But, I mean, I even tried ladies' grips at one time, but when I put the lady grips on, I was hooking
Hey,
them all too much.
way more information than we need.
Huh?
We don't need to hear about your lady
Well, I'm
grips.
going to talk about there's various
I'm filming this. I'm going to market this
there's
for you.
various diameters of grips.
It's Coach
you know.
Tanks'
You have
camp
standard,
golf
you have
lesson.
ladies, you have children grips, you have mid-size, you have huge oversized.
Well, you know what little hands
You
means,
can add
don't you?
wraps of tape underneath your grips to make them bigger to build them up.
You know what little hands mean, don't you?
Yeah, little dick.
Little gloves.
Little mittens.
Oh, little gloves. That's a good one there. But anyway, so that's your basic left hand grip. Okay, no matter what grip you're going to hold, that left hand should always be the same. Okay. Now, with the right hand, we simply lay that little finger in between the index and the second finger, and then put that shaft right in that last joint of the finger, so it's touching up against the palm and the finger.
So you don't interlock them? Like
I don't interlock,
Some
but
people
you
do.
can. Yeah, I mean I don't. I
Okay.
just never felt comfortable with interlock.
yeah.
And then
But
you try,
Nicholas did.
you try to get the lifeline of your right hand palm covering the side of your thumb. I call this Snoopy and his blanket. You must keep Snoopy warm in the golf swing if you want to be successful. If Snoopy gets cold, he's not very, very good on hitting balls where you want him to go and how you want him to go there. Okay? And the what we call the pistol finger or the
Okay.
trigger finger, you want that shaft to be right in that second joint so it feels like it is in fact right. That is what we call your trigger mechanism. This finger is directly responsible for the club position and impact. That one right there. That is the one that's going to control it, pretty much. Okay? So then we just set that nice big God-given right palm right there, covering the thumb, finger down, index and thumb on the right hand lightly touching, lightly. Once again, it goes back to the tension I was talking earlier. Because if you hold that too tight right there, it's going to tend to close the club face and impact. Okay? Everybody kind of have an idea of that? Enough on that.
Touch these on
Yeah,
your right hand?
yeah. I mean, there are a
Lightly.
few exceptions. Fred Couples lets the thumb just go straight down the shaft. He doesn't come over and touch it.
That's what I do.
There's a number of them, and that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you're not squeezing the hell out of it.
Yeah, no, I think I do.
And the reason that the Varden grip was, when he created that, was to get tension out of there so that the thumb touched the index finger, you know, around the shaft like that. What we're trying to see in our grip, guys, is we're trying to think of our palms are directly facing each other face to face, because that club head is an extension of your hand. If your hands are wrong up here, if your right hand's roll over, roll under, your left hand's too strong, too weak, it's going to affect where the club releases through impact. So that's why the grip is very, very important in trying to have accuracy in your striking of golf balls. So we have the right hand. You notice the little V that's created between your thumb and your hand on both hands? You got V's in there. Use your imagination. The left V, if you drew an imaginary line with a magic marker, you think of the left hand V should be coming up to about your right shoulder. The left hand should be coming up to the right shoulder, that V right there, if your hand's in proper position. If the right hand's in proper position, then that V would be coming up on the right hand to your collarbone, approximately. You think of this one coming right up into here. Left hand V goes over to here, this one comes up to here. Then your hands will be pretty much palm to palm in perfect position on that club. Either overlap or interlock. It doesn't matter, you know. Holding it gently is the key. All right, enough on that, because we could talk grip all day, because it is the number one most important aspect of a golf swing, is having that correct. But the pressure is the more important of any of them. Any questions so far on anything we talked about? All right, now we're going to move along to the balance of your body and shifting of the weight within your body, and how does all that work?
I have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
When we get through, we get to hit rangy ball?
Rangy ball will be provided.
These little marks on these grips don't mean anything?
Yeah, they can be, providing the manufacturer or the person that put them on correctly. If they are correctly lined, you know, with your club face. If they're off a little bit, then they wouldn't help you at all. They used to have raised grips, huh?
If you bought Callaway's off the shelf, you would think they'd be on there right. Then you just
You
like,
would think they would be, and probably the majority of the time they are.
you
You know
line
what I
up your
mean?
thumbs with the,
Yeah.
with the
I mean, you can use those lines, but I never look at the lines. I always look at one line. That's the line at the bottom leading edge of that club face.
Yeah.
Because I know that line is correct. And I want that perpendicular line to my target. Then my left hand goes on the grip, never looking at I never look at it. And once I have my left hand set, then I can sit here and play tiddlywinks whatever I want. I know I'm going to be lined up once I set this club back down. So on my left hand, then I'll come in with my right hand, set that club down, and I know she's perfect. I always do left hand first, right hand second, and I know I'm ready to roll. Any questions so far? All right, so let's talk about the
Okay,
balance.
that ends chapter 1.